When there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months.
So sometimes I think the American people, and the pain has to be real. The American people have to experience pain.
I mean, that's a stupidity. God, the ongoing stupidity of the House Republicans on every front. Think about this. Yeah. Republicans have come to the conclusion, and Donald Trump has come to the conclusion and saying, I want the stock market to crash. I want there to be a Great Depression. I want illegal immigrants flooding in. Republicans now have put themselves in a position where what's good for America is bad for Donald Trump. And that's all you need to know.
But he said America first, remember?
When there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months, because I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. The one president, I just don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
But Donald Trump hopes millions of Americans lose their money from their 401ks and retirement savings within the next 12 months. So he doesn't look bad.
Every time he opens his mouth, he says things like this. I hope the economy crashes. I hope Wall Street crashes. I hope people lose their 401ks. I hope the economy is destroyed so I can get elected president.
When he's not trying to take credit for the current administration's surging economy, Donald Trump and his MAGA minions are yelling the quiet part from the rooftop that they hope for America's demise as long as it makes their campaign look good.
That are not being enforced. So why give him this in an election year, the cover of this deal that, you know, critics say is still going to let a lot of people in, but he gets to take a victory lap that he's gotten something done.
And still, somehow, swaths of the population believe that these people are the patriots.
The Biden team can say, well, if things are so bad, how come the stock market's on a roll?
Because they think I'm going to be elected.
That you think the stock market's rallying because people think you're going to be elected?
I do, yeah. If you take a look at Iowa, if you take a look at New Hampshire, the stock market's been going crazy since then and long before then. When I announced I was running, I took the lead early, and then I beat everybody, including Ron DeSantis. I call him DeSantis now. I took the other names. All in the wrong places. I had no inflation, and I had the greatest economy ever. We had gasoline at $1.87. Now it's $4 or $5. But by the way, they're working together with other countries, sadly, because it's artificial, because they're going to give it up right after the election. You've seen that before. But they're working to get gasoline prices down. It's an artificial reduction. But the gasoline was up to $6, $7, $8 a gallon.
While discussing the matter on MSNBC, former U.S. Representative and registered Republican Joe Scarborough laid bare the reality of the party over politics GOP.
By the way, Dan Crenshaw, that's the guy who, when he goes home, he can say, hey, I don't care if it helps Biden. I promised you I was going to do this. I'm going to do it. And that's, you know, that's the right thing to do. That's what gets people at the Reagan-Lincoln dinner standing on their feet going, hell yeah, he's fighting for us. I mean, that's a stupidity. God, the ongoing stupidity of the House Republicans on every front. And you can add Ukraine to the list. They are literally willing to let Putin take over Ukraine. They just don't care. They've dug in. They've decided they're not going to support Ukraine. They're not going to support a safer border.
If it's bad for Donald Trump, they're against it. That's their guiding principle. It's just true.
But how crazy. What's good for America is bad for Donald Trump. Think about this. Yeah. Republicans have come to the conclusion, and Donald Trump has come to the conclusion and saying, I want the stock market to crash. I want there to be a Great Depression. I want Joe Biden to be Herbert Hoover. I want the border to remain open. I want fentanyl to be flooding across the border for the next 8 months so I can run against it. I want illegal immigrants flooding in, continuing to flood in over the next 8 months so I can run against it. Republicans now have put themselves in a position where what's good for America is bad for Donald Trump. And that's all you need to know about that campaign and this Republican Party.
And let's dig into the case that supports this idea, shall we? Well, you know, cigar-smoking, Trump-loving Republican Troy Nehls. Well, let's remind ourselves of what he thinks about the American people.
Why would we do anything right now to help him with that 33%? Do you believe if Joe Biden's approval rating was at 53%, we would even be talking about the border? We wouldn't be talking about the southern border. But he has to do something because he's hemorrhaging. He's bleeding. So sometimes I think the American people, and the pain has to be real. The American people have to experience pain. for them to realize just how destructive this administration is. And I think the American people are seeing it. Do I want to see gas go to $8? Well, if it does, I'll say, well, America, you earned it. You voted for this asshat.
Oh, so he wants people to suffer just as long as it means that his political party / cult leader look better. Where have I heard that before? Oh, that's right, from said cult leader himself when he prayed for an economic crash before he potentially takes office.
Seldom do you have parties as stupid as this current Republican Party led by Donald Trump. You now have Donald Trump rooting. We saw what Larry Kudlow said.
I was wrong about the slowdown in the recession. So was the entire
I don't think you were wrong.
forecasting fraternity. Well, the Fed, everyone was wrong. Okay, but
we see what the editor emeritus of the Wall Street Journal editorial page has said. The U.S. economy is the winner of 2023. It has stormed into 2024, doing better than any economy in the world, major economy in the world, and just crushing China right now. And yet you have Republicans wanting to do two things. One, Donald Trump has said he wants the economy to crash. He wants a depression to come. He wants Joe Biden to be Herbert Hoover. He wants people's livelihoods and their retirements destroyed. He said it to Lou Dobbs, so he can be elected president of the United States.
This coming after he spent months on the campaign trail back in 2020 predicting that there would be an economic recession akin to the Great Depression if Biden got in office, only to be proved wrong and wrong again.
He said the stock market will boom if I'm elected. If he's elected, the stock market will crash.
Finished the week 10-year about 353,000 jobs added in the first month of the year. Unemployment stays at 3.7%. What a blowout report.
We have to go in the Wayback Machine. That is the biggest non-farm payroll gains since January of 23, when it was 472,000.
And now that the economy is running laps around his, only further cementing his place in history alongside Herbert Hoover as having one of the worst economic records when he left office, no matter how much he pretends otherwise, he wants it to crash. He wants the very people that do think he's a patriot to suffer for his own political agenda.
You're going to have a stock market collapse, the likes of which you've never had. You will have a collapse.
And the reality is the economy is booming. Americans are benefiting from things like the Chips and Science Act, lower drug prices, student debt cancellation, inflation reduction.
Yeah, Biden's approval is historically low. Why is that?
Everybody's approval across the spectrum. You find exceptions to that. Look, it's been hard globally the last 6-7 years. But again, America stands tall. We're the tentpole of the world economy. No peers economically. Again, a masterclass of delivering. The economy is booming, inflation is cooling, and of course the economic strategies this president's put together were all things Republicans dreamt of, but never delivered. He's delivered.
All victories of this administration that, yes, I do have my qualms with across many issues, but I'm not going to pretend that the economy isn't in a far better place than it was after Trump left office, where he tripled the debt and gave tax cuts to his mates, because it's just simply not true.
So your first question, how to describe where we are. So I guess I would just say this. Executive summary would be that growth is solid to strong over the course of last year. The labor market, 3.7%, unemployment indicates that the labor market is strong. We've had just about 2 years now of unemployment under 4%. That hasn't happened in 50 years, so it's a good labor market. And we've seen inflation come down. We've talked about that. So we've got 6 months of good inflation data and an expectation that there's more to come. So this is a good situation. Let's be honest. This is a good economy.
And even if he was somehow to get back in office, despite his record and the countless ideological differences I have with him, I wouldn't hope for a crash or pain for people in America. That's what separates the left from the right.
Trends here may be changing because President Trump has been leading national poll after national poll over President Biden for the last couple of weeks, but not in this one. And maybe it's an outlier, maybe it's not, but Quinnipiac has Biden up on Trump 6 points.
The new national poll shows Joe Biden beating Donald Trump in a hypothetical general election matchup. This is the latest Quinnipiac University survey. Biden leading Trump by 6 points, 50% to 44% among registered voters.
Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.